Welcome.
Hi.
Gift. I feel like you're one of the pioneers of gift.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well, thanks. I'm so excited to hear what you've been up to. Are you ready to introduce yourself and dive in?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm ready.
Take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Artash, a grade 10 student from Toronto, Canada. And my project is the Sounds of Global Oceans, acoustic impact of the COVID-19 lockdown. So I'm just going to be giving you a brief presentation about what my project's about and what impact it's had. Yearly increasing global trade, 80% of which occurs via marine shipping, means underwater noise levels are rising globally. The low-frequency noise from the propellers and machinery of over 60,000 container ships traversing the oceans is an acoustic pollutant. The noise spectrum overlaps with the frequencies used by marine mammals to communicate and navigate. Whales, dolphins, and porpoises can suffer hearing loss, leading to an increase in whale ship collisions. It has put many whale species at risk of extinction. Research studies visualized as Wend's curve demonstrate the relationship between noise sources at different frequencies and their contribution to the underwater soundscape. While natural sounds of the Earth are in frequencies 0 to 10 Hz, underwater ocean sound peaks between 10 to 100 Hz and is dominated by noise from shipping traffic. Around 100 Hz, wind also starts to impact underwater noise levels. My research established a model to measure the contribution of anthropogenic or human-caused activity to the underwater soundscape, to help policymakers develop quieter ocean strategies for marine mammal conservation. The COVID-19 lockdown in early 2020 led to a global anthropause and a decline in commercial and cruise shipping. It provided a rare research opportunity to apply my model to quantify the changes in underwater noise before and during the lockdown period. So how did I measure the changes in underwater noise? Well, I turned to hydrophones operated by ocean observatories in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and Spain. Hydrophones are underwater microphones that can measure sounds underwater with great precision. I selected 7 hydrophones to represent global oceans in the Arctic, Atlantic, Pacific Ocean, and the Mediterranean Sea in Europe. The hydrophones were active during the COVID-19 period and in proximity to anthropogenic activity like commercial shipping and tourism. To measure the changes in underwater noise levels, I used a 5-step methodology. First, I downloaded the raw audio files on the hydrophones and indexed them. 2, I resampled the data to 2 kHz to focus on the lower frequency shipping noise. 3, I calculated the power spectral densities by applying fast Fourier transformations to 1-minute audio segments of my data. This yielded sound pressure levels as a function of frequencies, which were then aggregated into monthly long-term spectral averages. 4, I downloaded wind speed from buoys at each hydrophone site and categorized daily ocean conditions using the Beaufort scale. Only days with a similar level on the Beaufort scale were compared, so the resulting differences in sound levels were due to variations in anthropogenic noise only. Finally, I categorized the frequencies into 1/3 octave bands centered on 63 Hz to focus on the sound pressure levels, to focus on anthropogenic noise. Monthly geometric mean, medians, and quantiles of sound pressure levels were calculated and compared to previous years. The analysis of underwater noise data for the lockdown period yielded very interesting results. First, 4 years of wind data analysis revealed that the correlation between wind speed and underwater ambient noise was very weak at frequencies below 125 Hz. Furthermore, the median power spectral density plot showed that light to moderate winds, which were less than level 4 on the Beaufort scale, had a minimal impact on anthropogenic noise band of 10 to 100 Hz. Thus, the change in anthropogenic noise levels caused by the COVID-19 anthropause could be extracted by limiting the comparison to days with a similar ocean condition. Mean underwater anthropogenic noise levels decreased at all oceanic sites by an average of 4.5 decibels, or a 2.8 times decrease in sound intensity levels compared to a previous year. The peak decrease was from April to June 2020, except in the case of Glacier Bay in the Pacific and Cambridge Bay in the Arctic, where it was in the summer months of July to September, because that's when the tourist season happens. The biggest drop of 6.9 decibels happened at Georgia Strait, close to the port of Vancouver, which is in fact the 3rd largest port in North America. This was followed by 6.3 decibel decrease in the Rangitoto Shipping Channel in New Zealand. The results of my study were validated by data from the satellite-based automated identification systems that tracks the positions of ships. So to monitor if quieter ocean strategies made by policymakers are working, I created an open source web app, Monitor My Ocean. Monitor My Ocean provides updated atmospheric noise levels in the third octave bands of 63 Hz, 125 Hz, and 1 kHz. It meets all the noise monitoring requirements mandated by the European Union, and the US and Canada are expected to follow in similar standards. Now, in fact, I'm going to be giving you a quick demo of my web app. So this is monitormyocean.com. On the left, you can choose between any of the 7 locations. So in this case, I'm going to pick Georgia Strait in the Pacific. So there's 3 functions. First, it tells you the daily noise levels across the entire time period in 3 different frequencies. So you can see it's pretty clear here that in March of 2020, sound levels in Georgia Strait dipped by several decibels, and then they resurfaced a bit but stayed low across 2021. This can be done in the 125 Hz and 1 kHz band, which for this station showed similar results. Then it's important to remove the effect of wind speed, as mentioned in the presentation. So here's a plot of the wind levels at each month for all 3 years. While you can see that in the later months, the wind speed levels are very similar in all 3 years. In a month like January, wind speed was much higher in 2020. So my algorithm was able to remove the days with a higher wind speed during this period to make sure the changes I was seeing is only because of changes in shipping traffic. Finally, the main comparison here is the quantile comparison. So this shows you the decrease in the median and the quantiles during 2020 of sound levels. And here you can see that sound levels decreased between 2 and 7 decibels between February to June for Georgia Strait. This can also be viewed for other locations like Stellwagen Bank in the United States, where you can also see the decrease of up to 4 decibels in June and July, or in Barcelona coast in Spain, where you can also see that sound levels decreased during the pandemic. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question actually.
Sure.
Do you have any future plans for your project?
Absolutely. Well, the United Nations has declared 2021 to 2030 as a UN decade for sustainable ocean development. So to do my part for this program, I'm going to be extending my project to conduct automatic marine mammal censuses, which is essentially detecting the signature sounds of marine mammals like whales and dolphins underwater, and then counting them to develop an automatic marine mammal census.
How long did it take you to invent this machine?
Well, the entire research process was very extensive since each station had several years of data. And since this is hydrophone or audio data, it can be several terabytes of data per station. So it took me 4 to 5 or 6 months to put together all this data into such a condensed format.
Fantastic. That is really an amazing research that you have there. So you live near the ocean to do this?
I live in Toronto, Canada, so I'm near a lake, but I was able to collect the hydrophone data by writing and obtaining it from other ocean observatories around the world. There's a lake pretty nearby, and I lived in St. John's, which is right next to the ocean in Newfoundland for a year, and that was a long time ago.
I'm curious to know where you find, like, because Artash, you've been here several times and you have covered such an array of topics and subjects. So I'm curious to know what inspires you to dive into a certain problem. Like, where do you find that inspiration or that spark to pursue such complex thinking and problems and that complex data and whatnot? What drives you?
Well, from a young age, I've always been passionate about learning new skills in technology and big data and machine learning, and actually applying them to real world problems to fix issues for public good, essentially. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, some time ago, I presented a project at GIFT on the seismic sounds of Canadian cities, which is also inspired by COVID-19 pandemic. So really, I was able to look at changes in my environment, and I knew COVID-19 had a huge impact on everyone around me. So I wanted to take advantage of the unique situation that COVID-19 provided us and try to make some good out of it as well. And to cover such a wide range of projects, I definitely have a lot of interest from space exploration to environmental science and oceans. So I really just like to look at a lot of fields and see how I can tackle them.
It's such an inspiration to meet somebody like you who's so noble and generous in your pursuit of information and knowledge. And I want to commend you and thank you for coming to share it back here. I'm
Thank you
curious,
for having me.
Artash, I'm curious to know, do you like have any, is there anything people watching GIFT can do to support you? Like, are there ways to collaborate? Is there information you're looking for? What would be an ask for the audience today?
Well, this project has a huge life ahead of itself. So we all know how important oceans are to our environment. Yesterday was Earth Day, and oceans are equally important part of the Earth. They cover over 70% of our surface. So some of the things you can do, I'd really love to have my project expanded to other locations around the world, which is why I'm making all my code and research open source so that any students around the world can have a look at it and try to replicate it for their own locations. So you can check out my web app, monitormyocean.com. We can put it in chat somewhere and keep a lookout there, and I'll release more of the code there so you can have a look at it later. And definitely finding your own thing you're passionate about. Is it oceans or something else? And trying to do something about it. Even if it's something small, it really matters and it can contribute to the grand scheme of things in terms of this whole subject.
Amazing work. Alivel or Sam, do you have other questions for Artash before we let him go?
It's truly amazing. It's kind of speechless with how much he has done and how intensive his research is. I'd really like to have a look at that website. So can you put it on the chat? Sam said he had a pretty good time thinking of questions because he was so very thorough. So thank you so much for sharing and inspiring, Artash.
No problem.
Keep it up and keep coming back to GIFT, please, to keep us posted on where you're headed.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.